Welcome. Welcome. Great that you're here in the Miracle Mind today, in a special edition. So it's like amazing, the occurrence that you're taking part in. It's an amazing occurrence, and I'm so happy that you joined today in this. So you can be fully aware of what actually is going on in you. How great is that? It's like you have no idea the immensity of this occurrence in you that we call an awakening, rebirth, resurrection. It's actually occurring. It's actually happening. Say the former earth has passed away and there's a new world, say, appearing on the horizon. And this is not a world based on past or future, but it is an say, shift in consciousness that is taking place in such a way that you could never imagine anything like that. See, and you are a whole part of that. You're completely involved in this, and it's actually happening in you as the one occurrence. It's happening in you. So that's really great to even say grasp a little bit of the immensity of the occurrence altogether. So at the same time, it has nothing to do with your personal involvement in the sense of your personality involvement or anything. No, this is literally like if there's such a thing as a veil, the veil is just being ripped open, and you're actually allowing that light to come into your consciousness. So it's like, it is, wow, yeah, you didn't plan it this way, but it's actually happening. And that is the occurrence that is taking place in you. This should not have occurred in the next 2000 years, but it's actually happening in you now. That is the great thing that is offered, and you accept it. So that's amazing. And so allowing that to sink in and to integrate into yourself. I don't know how to do that, but I know this. It's like just allow the changes that are occurring to move through your system, no matter whether that seems to be a good thing or a bad thing, or yeah, who knows with what symptoms it will come. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. And because it's all like, say, dissipating. All the symptoms are dissipating. All the differences are, say, dissipating, are literally disappearing as we speak. So this is like a sun shining through the fog. Suddenly, first there was a thick fog, and that becomes thinner and thinner. Suddenly you see the light shine right through that, and you just got a glimpse of that. It's like the light is shining right through the fog of ignorance. And that is a real occurrence in you. It is not just an imagination at all. It's like it's a real occurrence, and it's happening in you, and it's happening right now. Now just let that occur, and you will, yeah, you will see that the recognition that you have will be so familiar to you on a scale that you haven't had as a human being. Like you never felt this much at home in yourself as a human being. You always saw that this isn't it, and this is not what it's supposed to look like. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? And now, by this, say, crack in the veil, you see that the light recognition that you have, the opening of that in you, is so strong that you can't deny it, for one thing, but when you start to receive it, it is so familiar to you that you don't know what to do with yourself, but say praise God and give it back to God. Being in this love relationship as the only thing that there is. And that is so great. So however you can express that, allow that to be expressed through you. And it doesn't matter how that looks. So today with Can You Hear This? Because that's in fact the episode that we're in. It's like, can you hear this? Master Teacher will talk about the veil too. And we also will read in the Manual for Teachers in what is the real meaning of sacrifice. Just another, say, paragraph to make sure that there's nothing left of this sacrifice, but you actually are able to look at it in a way that will, say, involve a release of any kind of restriction. So you can see it's like all the activities that we're, I say, letting take place within us all have to do with the release of your self-identity, with the release of the constriction that you found yourself in, with the release of any kind of, say, consideration about yourself. Like all of that is going to, say, be released, and making space in your consciousness for light and love and a recognition of your true source and the one purpose. Now that seems to be big words, but it's like these words don't even express it at all. This is really pointing at your individual experience, expression. You actually are bringing together opposites that you thought existed. They are being brought into one, and in that you actually start to create. And this is a real life occurrence. So that is, it's all understated, is what I'm saying. It's like, even though it sounds great, it's totally understated. It doesn't cover it at all, what I'm trying to express. Now that is something else. Okay, so here, A6 we did the other day, and so here's A7. Do not forget that sacrifice is total. There's no half sacrifices. You cannot give up heaven partially. You cannot be a little bit in hell. It's like there's no measure involved in this. I think we said this before, but it doesn't matter. You cannot be a little bit in hell. The Word of God has no exceptions. And it is this that makes it holy and beyond the world, because the world is all exceptions and measures and all of this. It's like, no, there's no measure involved here at all. You're either in heaven or you're not. You're either in your Christ experience or you're not. You're either in heaven or you're in hell. You're even totally guilty or you're innocent. It is this that makes it holy and beyond the world. It is its holiness that points to God. It is its holiness that makes you safe. It is denied if you attack any brother for anything. So it is its holiness that makes you safe. It is denied if you attack your brother for anything. For it is here the split with God occurs, a split that is impossible, a split that cannot happen, yet a split in which you surely will believe because you have set up a situation that is impossible. So fear creates a situation that's impossible. Look at the world. It's like that's literally impossible. All the things that come from fear create a situation that is impossible. So that's good to know and to read. A split that is impossible. A split that cannot happen, yet a split which you surely will believe because you have set up a situation that is impossible. And in this situation, the impossible can seem to happen. It seems to have the sacrifice of truth, which can never be sacrificed, of course not. Teacher of God, do not forget the meaning of sacrifice, and remember Going back here. And remember what each decision you make must mean in terms of cost. Decide for God. Everything is given you at no cost at all. Decide for God, and everything given you at no cost at all. Decide against Him, and you choose nothing at the expense of everything. What would you teach? Remember only what you would learn. For it is here that your concern should be. Atonement is for you. Your learning claims it, and your learning gives it. The world contains it not, but learn this course and it is yours. God holds out His word to you, for He has need of teachers. What other way is there to save His Son? Okay. So, teacher of God, do not forget the meaning of sacrifice, and remember that each decision you make must mean what each decision you make must mean in terms of cost. Decide for God. Everything is given you at no cost at all. Decide against God, and you choose nothing at the expense of the awareness of everything. What would you teach? Remember only what you would learn. So this is what you teach. You teach only what you would remember to learn. For it is here that your concern should be. Atonement is for you. Your learning claims it, and your learning gives it. Like if you hear it, what this says, if you can hear this, what this says, if you actually are open to receive this for yourself, that's where it happens for you. This is what you give, this is what you teach, this is what you demonstrate. The world contains it not, but learn this course and it is yours. God holds out His word to you, and He has need of teachers. It's like you are God's voice in your world. You are God's voice. How can His Son be reached or saved? It's like by you, say, bringing this into your dream, by you allowing the light to be experienced in your dream, by you extending this light to everyone. And to not attack your brother, because in that, we saw this here too, it's like in your attacking your brother, you just lose the awareness of everything, because suddenly you're in a war setup. So that is really good to know. Like something happens when you start to attack. You lose the awareness of love's presence. So that's why that is so destructive for your own awareness, not for anyone else's, for your own awareness. And you miss completely, like your rightful place in the universe. You miss it completely because you're actually denying that you have that place, and that is just not, that doesn't give you anything. You just lost the awareness of love's presence. That is all. Now you remember again, like, oh God, no, I didn't lose it. Oh, I'm so happy. Oh, I forgive my brother because I don't want to attack him. I don't want to lose what is rightfully mine. I don't want to lose that. So it's right here. It's with me. I can receive it. And the only thing I don't do is attacking my brother. See, the attacking my brother is really, this part is like looking for differences, looking for exceptions. The differences is probably the most clear to use here. If you look for differences, you will always be able to find them. But if you look for that what connects, that what is the same, for the sameness in everything, then you see that there's no difference between your brother and yourself. So you look for equality instead of differences. That is really the function of the Holy Spirit, you could say. It is like looking for equality, because this lives by equality. There's only one Son, and it's in perfect communication with its Creator. So what would there be to conflict? What would there be to have an exception? What would there be as a difference? You could say like the expression of love is the recognition of equality. And Jesus says this many times in the sense of, it's like, love your brother as yourself. Because in fact, he is yourself. There's no difference. It's like you're a son of God. God created you as well as your brother perfect. There's no difference. The differences were, say, imagined after that by looking for them, by looking for ways to prove the separation, which really is like started with fear. So it's like fear creates situations that aren't real. It's like it's an imagined situation. It's an imagined world based on fear. And it has no meaning and has nothing to itself. So you have to look for meaning, and if you find meaning in differences, you can be busy for a long time, that's for one thing. But it's like you have to keep proving the differences, otherwise you collapse into the equality. You know what I'm saying? That's why I say release the self-identity, release the ideas that you hold about yourself, because that's the only thing you need to do. If you don't defend yourself, if you're not protecting yourself, if you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you say drop into an experience of equality, of the sameness, the common sense, the reason, you could say, the reason. You fall into reason, which doesn't see differences. So that is really lovely. We see this in chapter 22 too. That is the chapter of today. It's all about reason. In fact, it's like reason is then the idea, not as we can reason with our minds, but more like that what makes perfect sense. Derived from reality itself, the recognition of equality, for instance. But we will not go into chapter 22. So now the next thing that we're going to do is listen to Master Teacher.
Are you afraid to do that? Oh yeah, because you associate, obviously you're afraid to die. Can you do it? Sure. I'm here to tell you that you can part the veil. In fact, in this quadrant, the veil is open. It got opened inadvertently. It got opened a little early. Do you understand that the plan of atonement is totally flexible? Can you hear this? If you think it's screwed up here, you ought to see the order room right up in here. See, there's only just a master plan. There's only just a single whole plan. Everything else is pure chance. Does anybody hear me when I talk like that? It has to be pure chance because nothing can be planned. I'm teaching you that everything is 100% chance. That's how you can be sure it's okay. I want you to become totally chaotic in your associations. Come on. Do you think that God orders his thoughts? Well, you laugh at that, but God doesn't order anything. God is perfect order. Crap. God is perfect chaos. If each moment is only a whole moment, how the hell would you put them together? All you'd have is a split in the moments, guys. That's what I'm telling you. Now you're going to have to do what? Order the moments. Do you hear me? You're almost hearing me. This is so fundamental. I'll open up the book and read it to you, and you'll go, Why? You got your moments sequenced. So many places in the Course, Jesus says, you're always bringing to the situation your past. Yet the past is gone and has absolutely nothing to do with what you are now, unless what? Unless you let it have everything to do with it. Okay? That's forgiveness, isn't it? If you let your past have everything to do with it, that's the atonement, all right? Your future then must have everything to do with it, because your past and the future are really the same thing. Now you brought your past and your future together, and you simply begin to create. You got a perfect reflection of your own thought forms. That's it. That was what I was waiting for. Is that you? Sometimes in the association, if you'd like to think of this as you fell into a well, Jesus says you're occupying a very, very tiny spot, okay? Only you know about this, and it's like we're just going to take the manhole cover off of it. This is how simple this could be for you. Okay. It might help you, as I said last week, to think of the sky as paper mache. Can you hear this at all? I'm going to try it. The sky is paper mache, okay, and there's little pen light cells being shined through, and you're in a cigar box. There aren't millions and trillions of stars 1,000 million miles away from you. That's poop. Jesus says if you reach your hand up, you can reach right through to the very furthest one, and you can just pluck it down and look at it. There, see? Got him. This is called swatting earths. See, all it is just your own association. It's very little, and it only lasted a second, and it's gone. Now, will that help you in your own dilemma? It'll help you immeasurably in your own dilemma. Why? It's true. And I'm in your dream telling it it's true, and if you'll admit that you want this to be so, it will become so. It cannot not. Because you have just as much power of mind to assert it as you do to deny it. Come on. But what have you admitted? That the power is in you. This is the best talk ever given on the planet. It's a good talk. Why? Maybe some of you are beginning to hear it reasonably. Not in a comparison of your associate thoughts about it, but by the whole premise that what I'm telling you about eternity, singularity, and reality is finally very reasonable. And that what you're doing in your own death associations is not reasonable. It's not fair, it's not just. And God is fair and just and whole and beautiful, and this is not, therefore this is not real. See how we look here. Now you got all this churning going on in your perceptions, see? What are we doing? Well, we're stirring up all of your past frames of reference. And you're looking to grab a hold of something that will allow you what? Not to go through the transcendence. Why? Because this is the last thing you want to do. You can say, boy, I can hardly wait to do it. Not true. You can do it now. And that's what you're going to demonstrate. It's very important that you remember that it has nothing to do with the guy sitting next to you. Nothing. You're going to maintain it does, and you'll be wrong. Okay? And that includes what apparently is his illumination. You'll look at him and say, gee, teacher, I sure wish I could do that. I'd be illuminated like you. You're a real master teacher. You can hardly wait to attack me. You are attacking me just by judging that I am and you're not. It's the fact that I am that allows you to be, for goodness sake. Huh? Got it? Boy, A Course in Miracles is beautiful. Your brother's your Savior, literally. Do we allow that I'm a step ahead of you in time? But only as you have directed me. I already know who I am, guys. I'm the same as everyone. It's you that's trying to be different. See, reality is going to be reality no matter what you do in your own dream. How come I got this assignment to wake you up? How the hell do I know? My awakened minds hear that. How the hell do I know? I'm just here doing it, right? It must be that this is what I do. One thing I know for sure, this is all I do. You do a lot of other things, but I'm telling you, you only have to do this. And you must do this in order to be this. Okay. Let's have a little quiet time here. I'm just looking at this thing going on over in the Gulf. Just a minute. You say, well, how come you participate in that? And I say, I participate in everything. It's hard for me to teach that. Remember that in your mind, if you repair a sparrow's wing, you've repaired the universe. It's hard to teach this. See, a whole mind does everything wholly. You say, well, aren't you admitting to the conflict of the war? Yeah, I'm admitting to this conflict. But remember, the conflict is singular to me. And I can't teach that. See, sometimes it's necessary for there to be conflict, isn't there? For there to be solution. Because as Jesus would teach it, peace is not truce. Okay? If the conflict is contained within the subject, it has to be in the object, and that's the necessity. The Christ face is not a congeniality of anti-Christhood. Okay? It's not anti-Christ getting together and defining the Christ. That's just a truce. Obviously, you've brought those perceptions to eventually attack yourself in relationship with yourself. It cannot not be so. In other words, anti is anti. Only you can be opposed to the truth.
Sir, could you relate this idea of conflict to the Persian Gulf War?
That's what I just did.
How we caused it and how I can...
The only reason you caused it is you caused all of this. If you segregate it, you're going to have problems in the magic attempting to overcome it. You've allowed for that sickness rather than the 20,000 people that died last night. I just told you that. You're saying to me the Persian Gulf is more important than the people starving in Ethiopia. You're wrong. Remember that you've constructed the whole thing in the unreality of your determination to find yourself in your own death associations. You have a tendency to make death explicit. I know you do that. And I know that you mourn for something specifically dead in your own relationship. Okay, don't you? Why don't you mourn for everything? Why don't you mourn for every baby that ever died or lost it? Why do you take a specific case of an example of what's constituted as evil in your mind and attempt to bring it to remedy by your limited associations? Now, does that make me a pacifist? It has nothing to do with pacifism. All pacifism in perceptual relationships is sociological. It cannot not be. Can you hear me? Okay, the idea of peace is always in the mind connected to the idea of war. My idea of peace is not connected to war at all. Okay, that's the step out of the conflict that's necessary for the atonement of your own mind. Are you the cause of the war? Yes, but only because you're the cause of everything. You're attempting to discern the relationship between good and evil in this situation. I know it's a tough step. Why? Because you don't want there to be the pain, and when you feel the pain, you have a tendency to give it more immediate direction. Okay. When you don't want to feel the pain, you've subtracted it in your own memory and pasted it out among the people starving in Ethiopia. It's amazing how the mind really finally is not concerned about death except it comes directly into their own associations. Okay. On page 5 of the San Francisco Examiner will be 800 people trampled to death at a shrine in India. On the front page will be one little girl stuck in a well. You see, well, you're directly concerned about that. Okay, remember, if you're the cause of it, if it remains real, you can never heal it. Now, does this make you not participate in what's going on in the world? Hell no. Do anything you want with it. What I want to do is bring you into a new association with your inherent conflict. And that's the certainty that if any of this is real, you've got a bad problem. And that includes this. So I have no solution to that except to tell you that God is only love. And that if you define sickness and death in your association, you are not love and therefore not real. And I don't want to take away from you the pain that you're feeling for what's going on in the Gulf. In fact, I want you to feel the intensity of it. Then perhaps you can feel the actual intensity of what's happening to your brother, and you won't be able to stand it, because that's how I got this. I can't stand the idea that those young guys are getting killed over there. Now you ask me, what can I do about it? I'll do anything you ask me to do about it, but I still can't solve it. Jesus says all around you these terrible things are happening. You overcome this, this happens, you overcome that. Why? You're holding together that tensions of those thoughts in your own mind. But remember finally that the solution is that the conflict is only in you. If you want to know the exact difference that Jesus would teach, it's this. I'm trying to get you to serve God rather than man. I know you don't like it somewhere. Okay. It's the same notation as good works avail you nothing. And it's very difficult for you to see that. Somehow inherently you want to say, yes, I can do good works. Then I would say to you that good works avail you everything, but you won't accept that. You want good works to avail you in the limited association of your own mind. My admonition to you is to serve only God, because that's what you are. Your service to man is service to evil. That has to be true, because you have constructed the sickness outside of you. Everybody agree? I know you don't like this, but you might as well look at it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Master Teacher, for sharing. That's so great. So many things are coming our way now, even in this 15-minute talk. You know, it's like so much is cleared up, in fact, that you don't know where to start, how to deal with this, or how to look at anything, and how to organize it in your mind, and all the things that you normally would do with information. Now, this is exactly the point where we were brought to. That it's like God is not organizing this. God is not organizing his thoughts. No, this is pure chaos. And so one thing that Master Teacher says is like, leave it there. Allow yourself to stay with that, not to organize it, not to think like, okay, now in the next situation, blah, 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 my response will be do, and this is what my new attitude should be. Like, no, that's not how it works. Because you're dealing here with different, say, levels of experience. And the thing that is being offered here is, even though it is, say, pure chaos, it doesn't mean that it isn't, say, perfect. No, it's a perfect chaos. That means anything can happen at any time. It's like, in terms of probability, it becomes more obviously beneficial. So in terms of possibilities, you see that just allow this to be as it is, and this too, and this too. Like, it's more related to your receptiveness and openness than anything else. You don't have to do anything else with this. No, this is like, say, to stay away from organizing this in your mind and trying to, say, make a deduction or like coming to a conclusion of some kind. Leave that behind, because that does not make any sense. Now, what is the great thing then about leaving this in chaos, you could say? Why is that so great to do it this way? Is in fact that you are not determining what experience you will have. Like, this is out of your league of control. This has nothing to do with your control or your formulation. That's why it's so great. Now here, Master Teacher gives us a couple of directions. One of them is this. It's like, instead of making things specific, like, okay, the Israeli-Hamas war that's going on, for instance, like to keep it actual. Or so many people died in Ethiopia, it's still going on probably. And so you want to make things specific, not recognizing that your whole dream is based on death and limitation and restriction. So you want to make it very specific in your mind to point your finger at, like, look at that, what's happening here, and we should do something about that and about this and all of that. So you don't want a solution. In other words, you're just busy trying to, say, put it out there in a certain way instead of recognizing it, the nature of the dream that you're in, which is death. You know, this dream is based on death. Now, in our awakening, this all is going to be used in a whole different way, obviously, because this is one of the main things that you're bumping up against, and that is the pain that you feel in relationship with your brother. So he says now too in this talk, it's like, yes, I want you to feel the intensity of the pain of exactly what is going on. Turn on the news and actually take a good look at what is occurring and feel the pain. So allow yourself to be open to the pain that you're actually feeling for the occurrences that are taking place. Not to make it real, but to actually discover the nature of this dream. It is a dream of limitation and of attack and of, differences. Now make that total and allow yourself to, that your whole world might collapse into it. That you don't feel like holding on to this at all any longer. Then something happens. So that's one thing. But see, it's all based on you live in a definition of yourself. This definition is crumbling, is falling apart. If you don't hold it together, there's an alternative available. It will be the last thing that you do, because you prevent yourself from letting that occur, obviously, because that is what a human being does. That is what you do in your limited perspective and your limited ideas about yourself. But if you come to the place where that actually is occurring, then something can happen and something will be changing. Now this is where we're heading to. So like I said in the beginning, it's like the veil is opening. Apparently this wasn't scheduled yet, but it's a chaos. It's a chaos in the upper room. Anything can happen at any time. There's an atonement plan, but it is perfectly chaotic. So that doesn't mean that things are not occurring in the right time. No, there's a perfect synchronicity at the same time too, but it's not planned. It is just the way that falls into place. That is so perfect. So that's pretty abstract to talk like this, but it's actually interesting, because you recognize it to be true in your experience of yourself. You see more and more of it and actually see it at work. Now, the freedom of not organizing your thoughts, to come back to that, the freedom of not organizing your thoughts as you are used to, offers you, say, a new experience. And we have said this before, but it's like it offers you a new experience, because the whole control part is gone. Like the control room is, nobody's in there. There's nobody ruling that anymore. So that means that you're open to experience a new experience of yourself. You recognize that there is no sense in ordering all of this. Okay, so I made some sheets with some expressions that we heard in the beginning of this talk, and I just want to share that with you to use it as a basis for further teaching, because I was interested in one word, and that is create. Bringing the opposites together, you simply begin to create. Like bringing the opposites together of death and life, for instance. Oh no, here was the example of past and future, actually seeing that it's the same thing, you simply begin to create. Now that's interesting. So I want to go deeper into that. Know ye not, ye must be born again. We have heard this many times said by Jesus. Know ye not, ye must be born again. Are you afraid to do that? Yes, because obviously you're afraid to die. Can you do it? Sure. Can you be born again? Yeah, sure. I'm here to tell you that you can part the veil. In fact, in this quadrant, the veil is opened. It opened inadvertently. It got opened a little early. Do you understand that the plan of atonement is totally flexible? And this to me is an incredible expression. It's like, yes, I do recognize that. And it feels so good. Like, do you understand that the plan of atonement is totally flexible? It is not a law forced upon you. No, it's completely flexible. It is so flexible that it only can be received by your complete openness, and then it will work. Like there's nothing forced upon you. It is completely received whenever you want it. That's how this works. Can you hear that? If you think it's screwed up here in this world, you ought to see the order room right up here and here. See, there's only just a master plan. There's only just a single whole plan. Everything else is pure chance. That does make sense too. It's like a single whole plan, yes, absolutely. Perfect plan of atonement. But the way that it's going to be implemented into your consciousness, that is actually working your consciousness, is by pure chance. It has to be pure chance because nothing can be planned. I'm teaching you that everything is 100% chance. That's how you can be sure it's okay. I want you to become totally chaotic in your associations. Do you think that God orders his thoughts? Well, you laugh about that, but God doesn't order anything. God is perfect order? Crap. God is perfect chaos. If each moment is only a whole moment, how the hell would you put them together? See, every moment is a whole moment. It has not separate parts. So it doesn't need to be put together. It doesn't need to be ordered. Every moment is whole and perfect. All you'd have is a split in the moment, guys. That's what I'm telling you. You're now going to have to do what? Order the moments. Do you hear me? It's like that's what you automatically start to do in order to not completely dive into this. You're actually organizing it for yourself. You're almost hearing me. This is so fundamental. I'll open up the book and read it to you, and you'll go, you've got your moments sequenced. At so many places in the Course, Jesus says, you're always bringing to the situation your past. The past is gone and has obviously nothing, absolutely nothing to do with what you are now, unless you let it have everything to do with it. That is forgiveness, isn't it? It's like this is the same thing. Like you don't want the past to influence this moment, right? So that can be your, say, new attitude. I'm not going to let the past influence this moment. And here then Master Teacher says, well, let it have everything to do with this moment. That would be great too. It's like that's the same idea. That's forgiveness. It's like I'm not protecting myself or separating myself off of anything. No, I'll include it in completely, not having any defense against it. Now it can be whole again. So we start to come into bringing the opposites together. This is in fact what I'm sharing. If you let your past have everything to do with it, that's the atonement. Your future then must have everything to do with it too, because your past and the future are really the same thing. Now you've brought your past and your future together, and you simply begin to create. Why? You've got a perfect reflection of your own thought forms. Okay, so you see, bringing the opposites together, that's what I want to dive into a little bit, because it is what we share too about the idea of war and about death. Like if you turn on the news now, you're actually going to very specifically look at what is going on and let that affect you. And then you're not, say, denying it. No, you're also not making it real, but you don't defend yourself from the occurrence itself. So you can say, like, just let your pain be total. You see the, say, incredible, painful things. You see the occurrences that are taking place, but you also are not looking for differences of any kind. You see the nature of the dream for what it is. And you see that a little bit of pain in your own, say, dream close to you or happening inside yourself is not any different than people starving to death in Ethiopia. Like that is the same idea. Now, that recognition is really important because you, in fact, recognize yourself as the source of what you see, not to make it real or make it factual, make it as a fact for you, as a reality, but in fact allowing yourself to transcend out of it, to actually forgive this, to let it be healed, and to, say, transcend above it. Seeing that it has nothing to do with how you were created, but only had to do with the definition of yourself. So in this definition of yourself, you include everything in that you see. You know what I'm saying? This is what I mean. So like you include everything in, but it doesn't make you that. No, you actually see that that was just the definition you had about yourself. Now, there's no need for defining yourself. So you're perfectly defined by God, perfectly created by God. And that doesn't need any ordering either. That doesn't need a description or characteristics or anything. Like, no, allow that to be totally chaotic. And allow that to be whole in every moment. But don't think that what the moment that just happened has anything to do with what is happening now. Now there's a real, say, fundamental transformational segment in it that you're going to discover, because not using your past experience of the perfect moment, bringing that back into this moment, thinking that you need to look for the same, would be the same mistake. It's like then you're still bringing the past back into this moment. Not necessary. So allow this to be totally chaotic in that sense. Allow every moment to be totally chaotic. Not having any kind of sense of ordering it, or looking for differences, or giving it descriptions, or say looking for characteristics that makes this moment so amazing. No, let it just be. So there's a really deep lesson to learn here. It's like, that is so amazing. But you see in what I'm sharing with you, you recognize the truth in that. And it makes total sense. And that is so amazing to hear that. So whether Master Teacher is sharing that in this way that he did, or whether you hear me say that, and it is still the same thing in that sense. It's like the recognition of truth is universal. So let that occur. Let that occur. Be open to that. That's the only requirement. All right, well, that is wonderful. See how we're doing? Oh, we're doing good. Yeah, I actually want to go to the special prayers. Just bringing that in. I'm going to share the screen with you in a second. Yeah, either one of those. It's like both are so great. But 233, I'm reading to you. Praying with you. It's a miracle prayer. I give my life to God to run today. Father, I give you all my thoughts today. I would have none of mine. In place of them, give me your own. I give you all my acts as well, that I may do your will instead of seeking goals which cannot be obtained and wasting time in vain imaginings. Today I come to you. I will step back and merely follow you. Be you the guide and I the follower, who questions not the wisdom of the infinite, nor love whose tenderness I cannot comprehend, but which is yet your perfect gift to me. Today we have one guide to lead us on, and as we walk together, we will give this day to him with no reserve at all. This is his day, and so it is a day of countless gifts and mercies unto us. I give my life to God to run today. Father, I give you all my thoughts today. I would have none of mine. In place of them, give me your own. I give you all my acts as well, that I may do your will instead of seeking goals which cannot be obtained, and wasting time in vain imaginings. Today I come to you. I will step back and merely follow you. Be you the guide, and I the follower, who questions not the wisdom of the infinite, nor love whose tenderness I cannot comprehend, but which is yet your perfect gift to me. Amen. All right, so this was the warming up for the day. So great. Thank you so much for joining me today. And so today, later in the day, we will have now I'm organizing my thoughts. I'm aware of that. Like at 3 p.m. Central European time, which is like noon Central Daylight Saving Time USA, we will have our meeting Rebirth with Joel, which is at 7 a.m. What was it? 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time USA. And Rebirth with Joel will be a continuation of where we are now, and the same recognition. So thank you so much for your part in this, and have a wonderful rest of your night or wonderful day, and see you soon. Thank you so much.